Hello there, guys, and welcome back to Bright Founders Talk by Temi, an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Today, guys, we've got Aymeric, Chief Revenue Officer at Stafiz, right in front of us. You can see him here. Aymeric, hello, first of all. Hello, and thank you for coming on. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hi, Matt. Happy to be there.
Good. And likewise, happy to have you here. I always said to Aymeric, because as you guys know, at the beginning of our podcast, I always have to pronounce the names of guests from all over the world, and it's not my strong point. So just clarified with Aymeric, and hopefully I will get it right today. So good. Aymeric, before we get started, I want to get to know you a little bit better. Yeah, I like our listeners to know the person behind the machine before they get into the machine, you know? So let me just fire some quick questions your way, just to acquaintance ourselves a little bit better with you. So first of all, good morning now. I don't know what time it is there. What time is it over there?
It's already 12, so
Okay, so midday now. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a morning person?
I'm a morning person, yeah. I usually, I mean, depends what you call morning. Some people wake up at 5. I wake up at 7, and I'm fine with that.
A 5 o'clock start, not about you, yeah?
No, not for me. Definitely not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Team or independently?
I think team. I've been more, independently before. Now I think I get the value of the team. So yeah, it has changed a bit, like throughout my career. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. We'll go into that in a bit. Are you a risk taker?
I think I am a risk taker. Yeah. Those are discussions we have with my co-founder. So I mean, entrepreneurship is a lot about risk taking, and I'm more on this side than he is. So interesting debates.
Very nice. Okay. Is a work-life balance important to you? Work-life.
It is important.
Do you have it?
I think I have it. Yeah, much more now that the company is growing a little bit, and we were able to staff it. Before it was, the first years are tremendously difficult, and you don't have this work-life balance. But as you grow, it may enable you to get back to a good work-life balance. Yeah.
Do you believe it's something that is actually possible to have that work-life balance within the first couple of years, or is it something you've just got to understand as you're building a startup? Not possible.
No, I think it's possible. Definitely much more pressure. It's more in the mind. The mindset is I think is more difficult in the first 2 or 3 years. But you can have that work-life balance because you don't have to work till midnight every day.
Yeah.
You have a lot of tools now to make things very easy to be much more productive, and I feel like you can get that work-life balance much more easily than before. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, cool. Networking events, do you enjoy?
I'm not extremely good at that. I don't know. I'm more on the introvert side, so I feel like those kind of I'm happy to like discuss one-on-one or like small groups, but like going into like a networking events, I'm not fantastic at it, but I'm working on it.
So is that your co-founder has to do that, or are you pushing yourself to do that more and more?
No, I'm pushing myself, especially like my co-founder is like in another city, is in Lisbon. I'm in Paris, so we have different events. So yeah, I'm pushing myself. And again, like the first years, I felt like I didn't have time. I was working. Now I have more time, and I'm finding the time to do it because that's the moment where I think it will bring more value. At the very beginning, I'm sure it's valuable, but it can be also, you can lose time on this. While you need to optimize so much your time, I don't know. I felt like it wasn't the right time. Now I'm pushing myself to go there.
Interesting. Okay, definitely go into that a little bit later as well. Tell me, have you ever pivoted, had a huge pivot on your business model?
We didn't have that, but we focused on a niche at the beginning, which was easier. We knew the industry, etc., but it was not massive. So we had to make a pivot to expand the market. And so the product had to change, the way we were, even the UX had to change. So it's not a complete pivot in terms of business model. But yeah, we had to readjust the product and completely the UX to make it work for more than one industry, more than one niche. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are you focused on short-term goals or a long-term goal?
It's always a tough one. I mean, trying to as manager of the company, you need to have long-term goals, obviously. But when you're also like a small team, it's very hands-on. So it's also like a lot of short term. So I just try to like keep some moments, at least once a week, 2 hours with my co-founder, where we really only focus on long-term goals, look at the strategy, and try to see where we are, what are the next steps. Otherwise, you get completely overwhelmed with the short terms, and you never think. And when you're not thinking about long term, actually you're not gonna grow as fast.
There you go.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, interesting. You said there being hands-on. So would you regard yourself as a hands-on leader?
I think so. I think like everything that my team is doing now, I've been doing it for a while. I'm more on the marketing and sales part. I think I've been doing like 300 demos of my product. I've been building the marketing, and I like staying in touch with what are the changes. So right now we're trying to leverage GPT-4 as much as we can in our processes, and I'm trying to also like be involved in that just by curiosity.
Yeah,
and trying to see what we can do there. Yeah.
Interesting. That goes in hand with what you were saying with obviously as time has evolved, technology has made things a lot quicker for us, ChatGPT. Okay, cool. You said about not the biggest fan of networking events, but what about public speaking?
To be honest, I don't have a lot of opportunities to do public speaking. I know that I get a little bit stressed in front probably of, when I do public speaking, but to cope with that, I just work really hard on the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I prepare, and if I'm well prepared, then it's fine. The first couple of seconds are tough, but then I just get in the role, and that's fine.
Absolutely. And tell me, are you happy with this year's success so far? Halfway through.
I think yes. It's been. We all live in a pretty challenging. We're living a challenging moment, but we managed to stay aligned with our budget so far. We had some good success that are going to pay off in the second half of the year. So far so good, but it was more challenging than we were expecting.
Let's go into the company now that we know you a little bit better. So, Stafiz, firstly, where did the name come from? And then give me a kind of a brief outline of what you're doing at Stafiz.
Yeah, so it comes from the word staffing, which is, in our case, about more organizing a team, making resource planning, basically making sure that we can find the right person to do the right job, or the right team to do the right job, making sure that everyone is not overstaffed, understaffed, and organizing the team in the best and most efficient way. That came from actually the first customers that we had, which was my partner, who was a developer at a consulting/IT firm, and they couldn't find the right software, to do so. So he built this resource planning tool. And starting from this main pain, which was how do I organize my team? How do I make sure I staff them correctly? We expanded the software into managing the activity, so tracking the time on the project, invoicing, or doing all the billing of the project, and having like an ERP for that kind of company, professional services, consultant, IT services, developers, that kind of companies. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, tell me, let's go right back to the beginning then. Tell me, what did the original MVP look like right at the beginning? And correct me on my statistics here. So was it 2016 or 2018 kind of the company launched?
Yeah, 2018. 2018 was the beta test with that first customer. And it was kind of ugly. Let's say, let's be clear. But I don't know. I mean, who says that you need to be ashamed of your product when you're launching it? Well, I don't remember who it is, but it was super lean. Like basically, we put that basic thing, and we had a very good relationship with that customer, so we were doing like regular updates. And I mean, in a matter of basically like 4 months, it was in production. So moved from very ugly to used by the whole team of that 100 person company within 4 or 5 months. So it
Quick
moved
work.
quite quick, yeah.
How come, or where did this quick work come from? How did you employ that?
I think it was like a very close relationship with the company and that customer, and they had a team in front who was also super interested about the project. They really needed that, so we were having like sometimes like 3-4 meetings during the week after some changing that were developed, overnight or one day to another. So really quick iterations that made the product, the MVP, useful quite quickly. Yeah.
And where was your go-to country when you were looking for this outside help? Where was the go-to countries that you were looking at, and why did you choose that country, that company in the end?
You mean in terms of developers?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had some. We were advised and recommended some in India. We worked with them for quite some time. My co-founder was also coding, but that was really, initially just about cost for sure. Let's be honest, and because we were recommended this team of developer.
So do you find, it's that kind of cost over quality sometimes? Is it when people are going for this, for their original MVP and they're trying to build their startup at the beginning, is this a serious question that they should be asking themselves? Do we do it on cost, or do we have to, we have to dig harder into our pockets to pay more for a better quality? What would you say?
I think it's definitely important. When you start a company, you're always looking after costs, but the number of time we had to rework the code, or you get a feature that is, 70% developed and the rest you have to do it again. If you take a step back and you recalculate the whole cost, it's not always the best option. Back then, we didn't have all the options also that we have now for other type of teams in other countries. I don't know, if I do it again with another company, would I go in India with the issue of the language that can be sometimes tricky even in English, the time difference, the distance also, because it's good sometimes to travel and see the team. I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely something to consider.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, there. Tell me a little bit about the roadmap. So is there anything that you had to take out in those beginning stages, which you really wish you didn't have to?
Yeah, we, as we were expanding horizontally the product with more features, I think at one point we decided to refocus. And so we had built a really good expense management system, that you can incur your cost on the projects. But at one point we were losing focus, so we had to make a choice and to just stop it and manage this through APIs and connectors with existing best of breed software. So on one hand, I think it was a little bit disappointing because it was a good feature, it was working very well, but on the long term, I think it would have been it would have impacted our overall performance because we were losing some focus and having to constantly innovate also on this feature versus our capacity. It would have been an issue at one point.
Okay. You said that earlier, you were talking about your ERP software. Yes. So how is your ERP software benefiting communication agencies in terms of their efficiency and their growth?
Well, in different manners. The first is to make sure that their team is properly organized in the best ways, so that you're not having people overstaffed, understaffed. So you're more profitable in that way, and you're also it's better also for the employees because they're not overwhelmed with work because you are managing the load in the good way. That's the first aspect. The other aspect is, in many cases, you don't have the visibility whether you are profitable or not. If you just invoice your time, okay. But in many cases, these guys, they are just, going to sell a product or a project fixed fee. And then, you try and make sure that you work the right amount of time, but sometimes you work much more because of different issues. If you know it in advance, you can come back to your customer or client trying to negotiate. You can readjust the task and the people who are working on it to come back to a margin that makes it profitable. And yeah, those are the main manners we do that.
Okay, interesting. So what's kind of the specific features that you would offer to simplify the activity monitoring and enhancing collaborations between the professional services and organizations?
Yeah, so the main one is the resource planning. You have all your team, what's the capacity, you can allocate the work on the different projects, and you can search among the profiles, and it's really automated. You don't have to search long. Like Stafiz is going to show you who is available and has the skills to do it and who is the best person. And, we're constantly innovating on the algorithm. The idea is to find the best casting for the work that is requested by the client. So satisfy your client, satisfy your employees as well, making sure that, you're making them grow as basically the work they are doing is making them grow, and satisfying in terms of quality for the work. So yeah, that's the resource planning is a big one. This is why we are called Stafiz as well. And then the whole, I would say, project profitability management, understanding the completion. Are you late or not? Are you profitable on this project? Are you going to lose some money at the end of the project, taking into account what's left to be done? And the last one is about like invoicing. And so always being able to compare what has been produced versus what have I invoiced? Am I late? Can I invoice faster? Who has paid me? Like managing this aspect of cash collection, which is also very important, and not, forgetting to invoice something or forgetting about an invoice that hasn't been paid. And we also help on the, cash collection on this aspect.
Okay. So started in 2018, now 2023. So around 5 years. With this, how big is the team right now?
Right now we are 35.
35. Okay.
Yeah.
What year did you see the biggest growth in your team?
Ironically, it was the COVID. It was more 2021, but I think COVID gave us a boost. Just because, like all these companies, actually they were, they are so focused on their client, which is great, that they don't always focus on their own internal processes. And during COVID, well, the number of projects diminished, right? And so they were interested about their own process, making themselves more efficient. And we had like a real boost in terms of customers at this moment. And then we had, because we're a bootstrap company, that gave us the cash to expand the team. So the biggest growth team was in 21. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And are you seeing a number that you're going to sit on kind of at the moment, or have you got plans to expand within the next kind of couple of years?
Yeah, we'll keep expanding. We more or less double our size every year. So as we are going into new countries now, Germany, the Nordics, Netherlands, the UK, all of this is starting at the end of this year and next year. We're going to expand, especially like our marketing sales team, but also the development team, because, the customers are always have, you think you can create like something very unique, but there are always some new needs. Obviously it's good because you can standardize them, but it requires a lot more capacity also in terms of developers.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the challenges there. You're talking about going into new markets, new countries. Tell me, what is the challenge that you're currently facing with going into different countries? Do they require different requirements and different regulations? Obviously, you go in Germany, UK. What's the biggest challenge there at the moment?
You have two main challenges, I think. The first one is about the product. When you have a product that is is linked to some regulation. So in our case, the invoicing, the billing part, there are some, accounting rules and some specific rules local. Now it's electronic invoicing in many countries. So that's a different, especially in Europe, that makes things harder, because even if there is the EU and some, common rules, in a lot of cases, there are some specifics. And so it creates an additional workload. So you need to pick the right market as well, taking this into account. And the other big one I see is generating the organic lead in those countries, which takes a lot of time. We opened Spain, like a few months ago. We managed to get some leads through outbounds, a good flow, but creating the organic, I think we had underestimated how long it takes to have a strong SEO that contributes to that. So it needs to be done really early in the process, because you have to it takes between 6 and 12 months to start paying off in terms of inbound leads.
Tell me, with regards to challenges, we keep on this topic, what has been the biggest challenge since the inception of Stafiz? What has been the biggest challenge which you have faced? You spoke about there's been kind of a little pivot, challenges with the developing services at the beginning, MVP, but what has been that big moment? Has there been a moment where you thought, oh, I'm not sure if this is going to work out?
Well, one thing that I think everybody is experiencing, and we've experienced it also, is, the cash management. It's always tricky. We're bootstrapped, so we don't have much options, right? We're only relying on ourselves. And yeah, you always have a moment where you see your treasury decreasing, and you need to make sure that you can pay everyone at the end of the month. So we had to be much more focused on that during a period of time. It was more as you're growing fast, and that team that was growing in 2021, it's great. It helps with the growth in general, but it pulls a lot of your cash. And so now we've recovered definitely, but at one point it was a bit tricky. I think it was the most tricky part. Whenever you start growing fast, have a look at your cash, like a very a very regular check on the cash. Otherwise, you may have some trouble.
Wow. Okay. Nice. Tell me, on more of a personal level, what has been your biggest challenge in your career at Stafiz? What has been the biggest challenge for you? You talk about obviously now challenges to find more time to do the events and to go out and be more extrovert. But what has been the challenge for you?
Well, I had a son last year, so I guess making sure. I mean, it comes back to work-life balance, right? You want to when you're creating a company, you always have that in mind. You need to create some space, both physically and mentally, for your family. And I think that's the most challenging part, because you have that in your mind 24/7 at night and weekends, etc. So if you want to be there, you need to make an effort. And I think for me, that was the biggest personal challenge.
So does in regards to this, once you have a child, obviously before your company was your baby, then you have your baby, does your level of work, does it lessen, or do you just learn to become better at managing your time?
That's a good question. I think it's more the latter. You have no choice. You have even if you have a partner, you have to be at home at one point, you have to help. So in any case, you're going to have a schedule that will change, and you need to deal with it. So you can potentially you can work more, and then you start working at night, and then you don't have any social life or at weekends, etc. You don't want that. So yeah, I think being more efficient was crucial. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Aymeric, what is your strongest skill?
I mean, I was talking about being hands-on. I feel when I'm interested by something, I'm very curious, and I'm deep diving in it, and I'm not only relying. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to deep dive to avoid staying on the surface, and making sure that if it's a new thing, a new skill, I'm going and try to masterize it as much as I can. I don't always manage to do it, but as much as I can.
Interesting. You're talking about asking a lot of questions there, and a lot of the time we hear that there is no such thing as a stupid question. Do you agree with that? Obviously, with the amount of tech that's coming in, the amount of updates and exponential growth, there are a lot of people which do get left behind. And I mean, a lot of customers as well. Is there such a thing as a stupid question or not?
Definitely not. For me, we live in a world that is getting more and more complex. Sometimes a lot of people are, not asking questions because they feel shy about it. Every time someone asks me, like, maybe it's a stupid question, it's a very smart question, and that is actually like useful for everyone. You need to ask questions in every aspect of the work. Like a salesperson who just speak but is not asking questions, he's gonna miss the sales completely. It's all about asking questions. In development, it's the same with all the new technology, the new skills that are changing so fast now. Yeah, no, I don't think there is any stupid question.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Two more about your personal growth and experience. Tell me, what would be the biggest mistake that you have made?
I don't know if it's a mistake. We chose to bootstrap. Somehow you could say we should have raised at the beginning. On the other hand, like right now we feel good, we're comfortable, we're growing quite fast and we don't have investors on our back. But maybe we could be bigger at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I've done tons of mistakes. I'm only thinking about that one right now because we're talking about the company. But it's still a question mark on this. Is it a mistake or not? Maybe.
Interesting. Okay, so what would you say to our listeners that are starting out on their startup adventure and bootstrapping as well? What kind of advice, 3 pieces of advice could you give to those founders?
Especially if you're bootstrapping, you need to make sure you focus on something that, you focus on a niche, because you need to be very good in that niche. And if you are focusing on something too wide, you will be able, you might find the product market fit, but it's going to take too long and you won't have you won't be profitable quickly enough. And then it's also about, it's not only about being profitable. Sometimes you can be not profitable, but managing the payments with your clients when you're in a growth phase. If you are paid in advance, if you are paid annually, etc., in the first years, it can tremendously help you, because it's absolutely, it's extremely hard to be profitable, but you can be cash profitable, which means you get some payment in advance. And as you grow fast, you can use this to fuel your growth. So focusing on the way you make your customers pay you is a good trick, I would say, to at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Amazing advice. And what about the future? Let's talk about the future here. So where is Stafiz going? What is the future over the next 2 years from where you see, where sitting here now, you said at the beginning that you're kind of happy with this year's success. What would have to happen for you to be happy with this year? And where do you see the company going over the next couple?
Well, if we manage to achieve our plan, which hopefully right now we're on the way, I would be very happy, again, because the year was more challenging in terms of economic situation that we were expecting. So it would be like a great success. In the next 2 years, the big things, like more on the sales aspect and the market aspect, we're expanding into new geographies. We're also expanding into new markets. We're going to launch more. We're going to launch another product focusing on IT services. So those are like big milestones. And then what we are working on right now is making sure that we are positioning ourselves to leverage, the whole technology changes, especially like the IA. It's creating so much change that you need to make sure you focus on you could create like easy tools using AI, etc., but you want to build something that is extremely valuable. So it's a long process, it's a long work to make sure you leverage this technology, and I hope in the next 2 years we will have positioned well ourselves in that aspect. Yeah.
Nice, very nice. Aymeric, thank you very much for coming on today on Biofounders Talk. It's been amazing to pick your brain and know about everything that you're doing at Stafiz. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Bye-bye.